Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into something I think we all struggle with sometimes. How to keep that spark alive in a long-term relationship.
Hmm.
And to help us out, we're going to be looking at a YouTube video by this relationship coach named Liam Naden. It's called How to Get You and Your Spouse Attracted to Each Other Again.
Oh, interesting.
And one of the things that really jumped out at me is that he says attraction, it's not just this uncontrollable thing that fades over time. He
Oh,
actually thinks it's something that you can reignite and even strengthen, which is pretty cool, I think.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely good news for couples who have been together a long time and are maybe feeling like that initial spark has faded a bit.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because I think we've all kind of bought into this myth that attraction is all about that initial, crazy
When you go into the
chemistry.
honeymoon phase,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And that it just kind of naturally fizzles out over time. But Naden actually says that's not the whole story.
Yeah, he really debunks that myth in his video.
Yeah. So what does he say it is then? Like, what's the secret to long-term attraction if it's not just that initial passion?
Well, he says it's less about, butterflies and fireworks and more about consistently meeting your partner's emotional needs,
Oh, interesting.
like making them feel respected, appreciated, and secure.
So it's less about trying to recreate that, honeymoon phase and more about building a deeper connection.
Exactly. He says that. Like, those initial feelings are definitely a part of it, but long-term attraction comes from a much deeper place.
Right. So it's more about the long game, I guess.
Yeah, it's about consistently showing up for your partner and making them feel good on an emotional level.
I can see how that would be important. But, life gets busy.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's easy to get caught up in work, kids, all those stresses, and, forget to nurture that connection sometimes.
Yeah, and that's what Nathan says leads to that decline in attraction, right? We get so focused on everything else that we stop doing the things that made us attracted to each other in the first place.
So it's not really about time or, the stress of life itself.
No, not necessarily.
It's more about how we change our behavior within the relationship as those things happen.
Exactly. He uses a really interesting example in the video to illustrate this point.
No, it's that.
Well, he points out that, people in long-term relationships can stay intensely attracted to each other even after years and years together.
Right.
And on the flip side, people under immense pressure, like soldiers in combat, for instance, they still find themselves attracted to others even in those extremely stressful situations.
Oh, wow. That's a really good point. I never thought about it like that.
Right. So if it's not just about time passing or stress levels,
Yeah.
what's the real culprit behind fading attraction?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. If it's not just those external factors, what is it? What's the real reason?
Well, Nathan's argument is that a lot of times we simply stop doing the things that made us attracted to each other in the first place.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, think back to the early days of your relationship, right? Remember all the effort you put into your appearance, the excitement of discovering new things together, consistently making each other feel special.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You put your best foot forward in the beginning.
Exactly. But then as we get comfortable in the relationship, it's easy to let those things slide. We get busy, we start taking each other for granted, and suddenly we're not putting in the same effort anymore.
I can definitely see how that happens. It's so easy to fall into those routines.
It really is. And Nathan's point is that it's not necessarily intentional, but the impact is real.
Yeah, we get so caught up in just getting through the day.
Absolutely. We forget to nurture those aspects of ourselves and our relationship that created that initial spark.
Okay, so if we're accidentally sabotaging our own attraction, how do we fix it? Does Naden have any solutions?
He does. And it's actually pretty straightforward. He breaks it down into three main areas: being physically attractive, cultivating an attractive personality,
Yeah.
and creating an attractive relationship.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but before we dive into all those, I'm curious, what does he actually mean by being physically attractive?
Right.
Is he talking about hitting the gym and getting makeovers?
Well, it's not quite that extreme.
Okay, good. Because let's be real, not everyone can or even wants to, look like a model.
Exactly. And thankfully, that's not what Nathan's advocating for. He's more focused on consistency and effort.
So more like remembering to actually get dressed up for date night instead of just staying in your sweats.
Exactly. It's those small but consistent actions that show you still care about how you present yourself.
Ah, I like that.
It's about showing that you still want to look good for your partner, even after all these years.
Yeah, it's like a little way of saying, hey, I still care about impressing you.
Exactly. It's not about vanity. It's about showing your partner that you value them and the relationship.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here. So it's not just about superficial looks, it's more about the message behind it.
Precisely. And it ties back to meeting those emotional needs we talked about earlier. When you make the effort to look good for your partner, you're subtly communicating that you respect them and value their opinion.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've got be physically attractive covered.
Mm-hmm.
What about the second one, cultivating an attractive personality? What does that even mean?
This is where things get really interesting
Oh, good.
because it goes beyond just physical appearance. It's about being the kind of person your partner genuinely enjoys being around.
Okay.
Someone who brings joy and excitement to the relationship.
So instead of coming home from work and immediately complaining about my day, I should maybe, like, try sharing a funny story instead.
Exactly. It's about being more positive and engaging in stimulating conversation, remembering to have fun together.
Oh, that sounds a lot more fun than just, like, venting all the time.
Right. And Naden talks about how important humor is in a relationship
Oh, I can see that.
because laughter is one of the most powerful ways to connect with someone and create that positive dynamic.
It's amazing how laughter can just, like, totally change the mood.
It really can. Okay, so we've got physical attraction, a sparkling personality.
Uh-huh.
What about that final piece, creating an attractive relationship? What does he say about that?
Yeah, that one sounds a little more, abstract.
It is a bit more nuanced, but it's incredibly important.
Okay.
Naden's advice here is all about making the relationship itself a positive and fulfilling experience for both partners.
So, like, bringing back some of that honeymoon phase magic, but in a more sustainable way.
Exactly. He says to think back to what made your relationship so enjoyable in the beginning. New experiences, compliments that focus on each other's best qualities.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And he suggests that we try to recapture some of that intentionality and positive energy.
It's interesting because it really does all tie together, right?
Yeah.
You've got the physical attraction, the engaging personality, and then this overall atmosphere of the relationship itself.
You got it. It all contributes to that feeling of being drawn to your partner.
Yeah, I like that. So how do we actually make this happen? Does Naden give us any specific examples?
He does, and they're actually really helpful and practical. I think people will be surprised by how simple some of them are.
Oh, perfect. Well, let's hear them. So, give us the goods. What are some of these examples that Naden gives for, like, actually putting the stuff into practice? Let's start with that first one. Be physically attractive?
Okay, so remember, it's not about drastic makeovers or anything like that.
Right.
It's really the simple things that can make a difference.
Okay.
Like, think about your wardrobe for a second.
Okay.
Are you dressing in a way that you know your partner finds attractive?
That's a good question.
Maybe it's time to, ditch the comfy sweats for date night
Oh,
and
yeah.
put on that outfit that you know they love.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's about making an effort.
Right, because it shows you care.
Exactly. And what about exercise? That's another big one.
Oh, yeah, good point.
And again, it's not about fitting into a certain size or anything.
Right.
It's more about taking care of yourself.
Taking care of your health.
Yeah, and well-being.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a 20-minute walk a few times a week,
Yeah.
that can actually boost your confidence and energy levels.
That's true.
And that can definitely make you more attractive to your partner.
Right, because when you feel good, you kind of, like, project that confidence.
Right. And don't forget about those little self-care rituals too,
Oh, yeah, those are important.
like getting a haircut
Mm-hmm.
or trying a new skincare routine or even just like taking a relaxing bath.
Mm-hmm. Just taking some time for yourself.
Exactly. It's those things that can really make a difference in how you feel.
Yeah.
And that can definitely translate into feeling more attractive and confident in your relationship.
So it really is about, like, taking care of yourself on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of radiates outwards, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Okay, so we've talked about being physically attractive. What about that second one? Cultivate an attractive personality. That sounds a little trickier.
It does, right. But it's really about tapping into that inner spark that you have.
Oh,
Naden says, we should try to be more positive,
okay.
more engaging.
Be fun to be around.
Exactly. So imagine this, right? Your partner comes home from a long day,
Uh-huh.
and instead of being met with complaints and negativity,
Hmm.
you greet them with a smile.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and a genuine interest in their day.
It's like the opposite of what most of us do, right?
Yeah, we tend to just, like, dump all our stress on them the second they walk in the door.
Oh, for sure. Guilty as charged.
But instead of focusing on what went wrong in your day,
Yeah.
try sharing something positive that happened, even if it's a small thing.
Right.
Like, finally finishing that project at work or having a nice chat with a colleague.
Right. It's about choosing to focus on the good.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
then
like
there's
that.
shared interest. Oh, yeah, those are important.
Remember back in the beginning when you were, like, so eager to learn about each other's passions?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Try to rekindle that curiosity.
Okay.
Ask your partner about something they're excited about.
Okay.
Even if it's not something you're, personally interested in.
Right, right.
It's that genuine interest and willingness to engage
Oh.
that's attractive.
Yeah, it shows you care about what they're into.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's humor, which we talked about a little bit
I was
before.
going to say that's got to be in there somewhere.
Laughter is so powerful.
Yeah.
So, share a funny story,
Mm-hmm.
watch a comedy special together,
Yeah. No.
or just, like, playfully tease each other.
Maybe a bit light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really does go a long way.
Okay, so for cultivating an attractive personality, it's kind of like bringing that fun back,
Mm-hmm.
being positive,
Yeah.
engaging.
Exactly. Okay, so how do we tackle that last one? Cultivate an attractive relationship. This is where I get kind of lost, I think. I know it's a little more abstract, right?
Yeah.
But it's all about making the relationship itself a place where you both want to be.
That's a good way to think about it.
So think back to the beginning again. What
Okay.
made it so magical? Was it the new experiences, the compliments, really focusing on each other's best qualities?
Yeah, there's just this excitement,
Yeah, exactly. And Nathan saying, let's bring some of that back.
So it's about being intentional.
Yes.
Hmm.
Make that conscious effort to shift your focus to the positive.
Okay.
So instead of dwelling on what annoys you about your partner,
Which is easy to do.
it is, try to notice and appreciate the things they do well.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget to tell them. A simple thank you can go such a long way.
That's so true. We forget to do that, I think.
We really do. And remember that acceptance is key.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
You fell in love with this person for who they are.
The whole package.
Right? Quirks and all. So try to rediscover those qualities that you initially found so endearing, even if they drive you a little crazy now.
Yeah, that's good advice. We all have those little quirks.
We do. It's about embracing it all, not trying to change them.
Right. That never works anyway.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And finally, remember to have fun together.
Yes.
Make time for those shared experiences, whether it's going on dates,
Uh-huh.
trying new hobbies, or just cuddling up on the couch.
Yeah.
When the relationship itself feels good.
The attraction just follows naturally.
Exactly. It's about making it a place where you both want to be.
I love that.
A place where you feel happy, supported, and loved.
This all makes so much sense.
I know, right? It's really eye-opening stuff.
Maiden's 3 pillars are actually a really practical framework.
Yeah.
But I imagine some people listening might be thinking, okay, this is great. What? Where do I even begin?
That's a great point. And it's important to remember that it's a journey, not like a quick fix,
Right.
And that's one of the things I appreciate about Nathan's approach, actually.
What's that?
He emphasizes those small, consistent changes rather than trying to, overhaul everything at once.
So baby steps.
Exactly. Even just one small change, but you do it consistently.
Okay.
That can have a ripple effect.
Oh, I like that. So we've got the roadmap. We've
Yeah.
got the practical examples. But there's something else we haven't really touched on, I think.
What's that?
The emotional side of all of this.
Oh, right.
I mean, it's easy to talk about, dressing up for date night and sharing funny stories.
Mm-hmm.
But rekindling attraction can bring up some other stuff too, right?
Absolutely.
Like, what about those insecurities or past hurts that might come up?
Yeah, that's a really important point.
It's kind of like we're opening up this whole other can of worms, right?
It really is, and that's why it's so important to address it head on.
So what does Naden say about all this? How do we deal with that emotional baggage that might come up?
Well, he stresses the importance of communication,
Oh, of course, that makes sense.
like really open and honest communication with your partner.
Well, being able to, talk about those insecurities.
Exactly. Creating a space where you could both be vulnerable,
Right.
talk about your fears, your desires, without feeling judged.
Yeah, that's so important, but not always easy.
No, it definitely takes effort, but it's worth it.
So it's not just about, changing our behaviors. It's
Right.
also about addressing those, deeper emotional currents that are running beneath the surface.
Exactly. And remembering that you're on the same team.
Yeah.
You're in this together.
Not against each other.
Exactly. It's
No.
not about blame or competition.
Okay, that's good to remember because it's easy to fall into that trap, I think.
It really is. But when you approach it as a team, you can support each other's growth and celebrate those little victories along the way.
Yeah, I love that. So what about those situations where, like, one partner might be a little hesitant to do this whole, rekindling attraction thing?
So that's a really good question, and it happens a lot.
Because it can be scary, right?
Absolutely. It requires us to step outside of our comfort zones.
Yeah, to be vulnerable.
Exactly. But Naden's advice here is to focus on your own changes first.
Okay, so like leading by example.
Exactly. When your partner sees you putting in the effort
Uh-huh.
and actually experiencing the benefits, they might be more likely to come around.
So instead of trying to force it on them, you kind of just like show them how great it can be.
Precisely. Plant that seed and nurture it with patience.
Okay, that's good advice because it's not going to happen overnight, right?
Definitely not. It takes time, especially in a long-term relationship.
Yeah,
So be patient with yourself.
and with each other.
Exactly. It's all about those small, consistent steps that add up over time.
Baby steps, but in the right direction.
I love that. You're getting
Yes.
it. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. I feel like I've learned so much.
You do.
We talked about the myths, the pillars, all those practical tips, and now the emotional side of things.
It's been a really insightful deep dive,
It really has. So before we wrap up, what's like the one thing you really hope listeners will take away from all of this?
honestly. That sense of hope.
Ooh, I like that.
That attraction isn't just this, like, magical force that disappears.
Right.
It's something we have the power to influence.
It's within our control.
Exactly. With a little effort and a genuine desire to create a more fulfilling relationship, we can make it happen.
Yeah, it's about shifting our mindset from, is the spark gone,
Mhm.
to how can we reignite it?
Exactly. And remembering that it is possible no matter how long you've been together.
This has been so eye-opening. Thank you so much for sharing all these insights with us.
My pleasure. It's been a great conversation.
And to everyone listening, if you want to dive deeper into this, definitely check out Liam Naden's full video. It's packed with even more great advice.
And until next time, keep those sparks flying.
That's right. And remember, a little effort and a whole lot of heart can go a long way in creating a love that truly lasts.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.